I have mixed emotions about Grambling being a part of Jon Gruden's unboxing series, but most of them are bad. Oh, yeah, it's locked on HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked On HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I, of course, am Darrion Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor and current contributing writer at USA Today Saints Wire and site expert at Who Dat Dish. Thank you for going on this journey with me. Make it Locked On HBCU your first listen of the day every day. I love all of my everydayers. And don't forget, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey is over. It just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Starts with an S and ends with an S. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. We're talking a little bit of baseball today. Segments 2 and 3 will wrap up today's episode and looking at how Albany State performed when their back was against the wall. In segment 2, we'll take a look at how Florida was running the SWAC baseball circuit this year with FAMU and Bethune-Cookman ending 1 and 2. But I want to start off with a conversation about Jon Gruden and his involvement with the Grambling State football team. It's not anything drastic. It's not him being at training camp or spring practice, about him being present during the summer, about him being a kind of a consultant. It's nothing like that. It's simply that they gave him a care package for him to unbox. I recently found out that this is a thing that he does. I did not know that. I did not know that this was a Jon Gruden specialty to get care packages from people and he unboxes them and he talks about it, right? Like I don't keep up with Jon Gruden. And the reason I don't keep up with Jon Gruden is the same reason that I have mixed emotions about Grambling being a part of this unboxing series. Now, don't get it twisted. I have mixed emotions, but I know exactly how I feel on it. I'm not a fan of it. I am not a fan of Grambling being involved with Jon Gruden in any kind of way. I don't think that any of our HBCUs should be involved with Jon Gruden in any kind of way. Do I expect that from every single one of them? No. Am I disappointed in Grambling? No. I actually understand it for a couple of reasons on why you would do this. Number one, it's good promotion. It just is. Gruden has a pretty good platform from just being him, right? Like, I'm old enough to remember before all of the controversy, everybody loved Gruden. He is a very interesting personality. And in the sport of football, I love what he's done as far as content goes. So I get it. He has a platform and he's with another platform that has a platform. So Grambling being out there, it's going to be a big deal. And Gruden comes on, he starts talking all about his connections with people who went to Grambling, Hall of Famers, legends. He mentions Eddie Robinson. He's talking all about the history of Grambling. And on a platform, I think that was really cool. That's the mixed emotion. The mixed emotion is that this could do some good for Grambling. But the other side of the coin is that this could do some good for Jon Gruden, and I'm not a fan of that. I'm not. And I believe in second chances, but I do not necessarily know if HBCUs should be giving second chances to people who have past issues with race-related issues or instances, I should say. Now, I think that there's multiple ways to look at this, and I'm not really mad at people. For example, I'll give a counterpoint. Someone may say that this is involving with HBCUs could be educating and things of that nature. Okay, that could be the case. My big problem is nothing Jon Gruden has done has shown me that he would be in a position to want to learn. It hasn't. Do I think that he is using Grambling? No. I'm trying to get all my disclaimers out before anybody can hop in the comments and just kind of go off and whatnot. I don't think that he's using Grambling. I don't think that Grambling was manipulated in this situation. I actually think the issue I have is a collateral benefit for Jon Gruden. I really do. I've noticed people are trying to slowly accept Gruden back into the NFL, back into the game of football. And if you're unaware of why Gruden is not in the game of football in an official capacity as a head coach or as a coordinator, it's because he got caught amongst multiple remarks, right? I think he has misogynistic remarks in there, homophobic remarks in there. I think he has a lot of different things that you can point to. But one of the things that he said was a racist comment about a black person. And in that, I'm not here to give him a second chance at the HBCU. Most importantly, because he's still partnered with Barstool. Now, if he wasn't partnered with Barstool, then maybe I would feel a little bit differently. Because here's the thing: I'm not going to boil him down to being a racist. I read the remark. I've been read the remark years ago. I didn't like it then. I'm not going to boil him down to being a hateful person who just can't stand black people. I'm not going to do that. But what I will say is that comment could easily just be the beginning of multiple comments that just weren't in an email. So I am weary. I'm not boiling him down to it, but I'm not excusing or excluding it either. There we go. I'm not gonna say excusing. I'm definitely not doing that. But I'm not excluding the idea that he could be a full-blown racist. I'm just not, right? But here's the deal. Jon Gruden has been in the game forever. He has friends who have probably gone to Grambling. I don't think that that's just lip service. He pulled up a bunch of memorabilia that I don't think he just found. Like, I think this is really him. I don't want to sit here and rule out everything that he's done over the course of, I think he's been around for like 30 something years, probably more, honestly, if you just talking about working up the ranks. He has friends there. So I get it. He's probably friends with Mickey Joseph. They probably go back. They know each other, probably. So I don't want to rule out anybody who has a previous relationship. But here's the thing. I don't have a relationship with Jon Gruden. I don't know him. I've never met him. And personally, the things that he said, I found offensive. And I know that there's some times in which a person who offends a party goes and stands next to a member of that party and is like, oh, look, see, this person accepts me. Now we should all be accepted. Once again, I do not believe that's what Jon Gruden is doing. This man just loves football. I think he legitimately loves the things he mentioned about Grambling. But I think a collateral benefit could be people say, oh, well, the HBCU is kind of forgiving him and maybe even view it as he is kind of, I don't want to say regretful, but maybe trying to make amends, maybe turn over a new leaf. I could see that. But I mentioned it earlier. He's partnered with Barstool. So I have this man who has a racist remark on his resume. I've seen that, proven that. I'm not saying he's a racist, but he has this remark on his resume. And then he goes and he partners with Barstool, who has multiple claims of racism. They have they have a stigma around them. So now I have this person who is, let's call him slightly guilty. And he goes and joins up with this entity that has a reputation for something that he's slightly guilty of. Where am I supposed to feel like he has regret in his comments? Apologies don't really do much for me. They don't. Like, I can say sorry. I said sorry many times when I wasn't sorry. So that doesn't really do much for me. I want to see a real change of behavior. So when Jon Gruden unboxes all of the things from Grambling and they're a part of the series, like I said, I don't keep up with Gruden and what he does. As smart of a man as he is when it comes to football, the things that he said, I was not a fan of and I do not support. And this is a little bit more personal because the Saints did partner with him. They brought him into camp and I hated it. I thought he was going to get hired in some capacity on the team. So that is probably why I feel passionately about this, because I've already taken a stance against it for my own Saints. This is my squad. I love them to death. If Jon Gruden would have became the head coach, which I think was like discussed, or if he would have became an offensive coordinator, I probably would have stayed along writing. But the fandom part of me, a little bit of that would have died that day. I'm just being honest with you, because I just don't support it. And I think that he has not shown me any sort of remorse. That's what it is. Jon Gruden can have a second chance. This is very clear. Jon Gruden can even have a second chance by partnering with an HBCU. I wouldn't even have a problem with that. I just have not seen anything that made me say Jon Gruden should have a second chance. The remarks he made about a black person were offensive. Cool. That is a strike. That is a strike. But then you go and you partner with Barstool, who has a history, who has multiple people come out and alleging them of being racist in the workplace. What's supposed to make me think that you don't stand with that? You already got this strike on your resume. Now you partner with them. That's who you are to me now. That is a part of you. I can't untie that now. It's a part of that thread. So when I see him unboxing things from Grambling and him being a part of what I think, or them being a part of what I think is his eventual acceptance back into football, I don't like it. The Buccaneers talking about, yeah, we're going to reinstate him in the Ring of Honor. The Saints working with him at training camp. It just feels like the world is slowly but surely trying to say, yeah, we ain't really thinking about that Gruden stuff no more. Let's bring him back. Oh, we love Chucky. Not me. Not me. I don't even love the Chucky movie like that. I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's trash. So I get why Grambling would do it. He probably has friends there. Doug Williams. I think he showed a picture of him and Doug Williams together. Mickey Joseph, his brother Vance was the head coach with the Denver Broncos for a year at the same time that Gruden was with the Raiders. So they played twice. I'm sure that Joseph has seen or had some conversations. I'm sure of it. I ain't mad at you, Grambling. I understand where you got it from. And I'm not trying to say I'm not mad at you in the way that we say it. Like, you like it, I love it. I'm not trying to say that. I don't think it was a sellout move at all. I think that it was a genuine love of football move on both sides. I think it was well-intentioned on both sides. I just wish it didn't happen. That's it. Now, as we push forward, we're going to take this to the diamond. Speaking of the Raiders, they used to play on the diamond, right? Gruden was a head coach for them when they used to play on the diamond before they made it on over to Las Vegas. So he knows about it. But now we're going to talk about actual baseball, not football on the diamond. But I want to talk about Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman, the second and first best teams in the SWAC this year, as we continue with Locked On HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Have you ever sat there and looked at your phone and wondered, where did all of my money go? I know I'm in risk of that when it comes to June because we have so many birthdays in my family in the month of June. I'm not going to name relatives, but we got like 5, 6, 7 birthdays in the month of June alone. It feels like it's going to be a lot of swiping, a lot of gift giving. I got to make sure that I'm keeping track of what I'm spending. Because those things can add up very quickly. And with Monarch Money, I don't have to worry about going to this platform or this app and this one and that one. I don't have to worry about it. I get Monarch Money and that's it. That's it. It is my financial command center that allows me to do what it normally would take me 5 different apps to do. And my phone is screaming for storage as it is. So I'm very thankful for Monarch Money, and my phone is too. You know what? If I were you, this is what I do. I'd take control of my finances with Monarch Money because this is what I did. And I'd use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. As we continue rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day. For your second listen, make sure you're checking out Locked On NFL Draft. Damian Parsons just mentioned that we're starting scouting for 2026. It's never too early. It's never too early. We talked about Eden James and Eric Hunter, 2 weeks ago? We talked about them the week after the draft. It's never too early to check out Locked On NFL Draft. They may even still be giving you a little bit of coverage on what your team's draft class could do. But now I want to talk about the Diamond. Sorry, I get out of control when it comes to football. I love this. I love it. But Bethune-Cookman wins the SWAC championship in the regular season, and it sets up for the SWAC tournament. But one thing is for sure. Florida ran it this year. Alexa, play Isaiah Falls, Florida, baby, because that was the constant in the 2025 SWAC baseball season. It was Bethune-Cookman and FAMU taking down pretty much everybody that they saw. Of course, they had to see each other, and Bethune-Cookman came out victorious in that series. But outside of it, FAMU didn't lose another series. Bethune-Cookman lost one series. So you're looking at a really ran year. Matter of fact, as you look at the standings, I had it up, and I thought I kept it up. But FAMU goes 24-6. I do know that. FAMU goes 24-6. Bethune-Cookman goes 24-5, so it's really close between the two of those teams. It's just one loss separating them. Of course, you had the tiebreaker anyway, but it was only one loss that separated those two teams. And you have Alabama State, who has 21 victories. They go 21-9. But after you get past that, no other team is hitting 20. Grambling has 18. UAPB has 17. But in general, and you look at it, Grambling played 29 games. UAPB played 26 games. So there are some reasons that comes into play. But you're talking about 24-5, 24-6 when it comes to Bethune-Cookman and FAMU. They definitely ran this conference. And as you go through the series, I don't think it's just about the record. It's about you're playing who you're playing. And you're, like I mentioned, no losses. No losses. And FAMU is the hottest team coming into this conference. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Coming into this conference tournament, FAMU is the hottest team coming into the conference tournament on an 11-game win streak. So, and I'll tell you what I applaud about the Rattlers is that this 11-game win streak that FAMU is on currently and that they're taking into the SWAC tournament, this happened after arguably their worst stretch of the season. Now, they went 24-5 in the conference. I'm not about to sit here and downplay what they accomplished before this winning streak. I'm not about to come in here and overplay what kind of pitfalls that they had. But they did go on a 5-game losing streak, and 4 of those games were to SWAC opponents. That is a big deal. In the middle of your season when you're riding high. Now, listen, you had a couple of 2-1s in the season series against a couple of teams. So I'm not going to sit here and act like you were perfect, but you was rolling. To lose 5 games in the middle of that could destroy your confidence. And instead, it feels like it put a battery in the back of the Rattlers baseball team. Instead, it feels like it motivated them and focused them. Because after losing to Bethune-Cookman 3 times in a row, they lost every single game in that series. There isn't another series in which they lost 2 games. Multiple series where they didn't lose 1. So you're talking about going 0-3 against your rivals. Then you lose to Mercer in a non-conference game. Okay, that's whatever, really. Like, you're not really stressing that. But then you come out and you lose to Jackson State in the first game of that series. What I will say is Bethune-Cookman and Jackson State are the only 2 teams to beat FAMU in the first game of a series. That's it. So now you're on a 5-game losing streak. There has to be some people questioning. Has to be some people who are wondering, hey, what's going on here? Was it luck? Because Jackson State is one of those schools where they have a history. Bethune-Cookman is your rival, and you're looking at it. Bethune-Cookman was that was a road game, but then I'm sorry, it wasn't even Jackson State. It was Grambling. It was Grambling that beat them in that first game of that series. My apologies. I thought it was Jackson State, but it was Bethune-Cookman, all 3 losses. Then you face Mercer, and that's in Tallahassee. You lose that game, non-conference, so whatever. And then you play Grambling, and you lose that game 4-6. And you weren't hitting that well against Bethune-Cookman either. 3-2-2. Those your runs in those 3 games. That could destroy your confidence. To lose 4 games in a row in conference play, then you rattle off 11 straight. So I thought that showed a really great amount of mental fortitude. And I thought that in general, that's something that you can carry into your tournament, into the final dance, so to speak. Because it's double elimination. So you're going to have the opportunity to falter, but you're hot. You're on fire. And we're going to go over the SWAC tournament in Wednesday's episode, probably Wednesday's episode is when we're going to preview some of the SWAC tournament games. But anyway, to Bethune-Cookman, they sweep FAMU. So let's talk about them. They're the champions. They're number 1. Let me not spend so much time on the hottest team. Let's spend it on the top team. And what's interesting to me is that they kind of have their losses spread out. So there's probably some squads who feel like I could get them. The only team that actually got them, as far as twice, was UAPB. So if they got to see UAPB, I haven't looked at the seedings and the matchups just yet. But if they got to see UAPB, then they may feel like, all right, this is our chance to get our lick back. But for no other team do they need revenge at all. No other team. They've dominated this conference. And teams may feel like, we can get them once, but can you get them twice? Can multiple teams get them once? We'll see. Right? Like at the end of the day, there's more teams who feel like they can get Bethune-Cookman than can feel like they can get FAMU, as far as proof of that, I should say. There's more teams who have beaten Bethune-Cookman than have beaten FAMU because FAMU had half of their losses. Half of their losses came against one team. So, actually, it's four apiece. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm doing bad math right here. Yeah, I'm doing bad math. It's the same amount of teams. It's the same amount of teams. But in general, I feel like they that destroyed that whole point. I just did the math on me. But anyway, the point is, Bethune-Cookman is a squad who has spread out their losses a little bit more. It doesn't feel like so condensed. It doesn't feel as condensed as FAMU has. And the reason that Bethune-Cookman was able to succeed against so many other people is that they had elite pitching. They had great pitching. The best ERA in the conference. Second most strikeouts in the conference. They didn't allow a lot of triples, right? They didn't allow a lot of doubles, like a lot of home runs, excuse me. So as far as getting power hits off on Bethune-Cookman, it was rare. They kept it down. They kept the scoring down a lot of times. This was a team that was at the top of the conference in so many different ways. They were pretty good at batting. You know what I'm saying? Fourth overall, I think. I'm trying to remember what specific stats they highlighted or they were high in. But in general, ERAs, strikeouts, not a lot of triples allowed, not a lot of power hits as far as home runs go. They were low in both of those categories. But Bethune-Cookman was the best team, and that arm of their pitchers was a big reason why. And I can't wait to see how that translates into the SWAC tournament. But speaking of tournaments, Albany State had their back against the ropes, and they rose to the occasion. We're going to talk about that as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On HBCU. As we're wrapping up today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day, making it all the way to segment 3. And I thank you 2 times for that. Thank you. Thank you. Albany State baseball really rose to the occasion when their back was against the ropes. Now, I'll be honest with you. As I'm recording this, they are out. They are out of the Division II NCAA baseball tournament. But there was one game in particular that I just wanted to highlight because I thought it was such an impressive showing. Now, Albany State enters the tournament as an 8 seed. They're in the Tampa Regional, which means Tampa is the number 1 seed. As the 8th seed, they had to go against Tampa. I don't expect them to win that. That is a huge upset if you're able to come in as an 8 seed and beat the top seed. That's just true. In every single sport, when you are the lowest seed, you're going to face the highest seed. When you're a lower seed, you're going to face a higher seed. You just have more chance to win a game when the games are closer. 4 or 5, that's always a toss-up. But Albany State came in, they lost to Tampa. Cool. Then they played the second game that I'm going to highlight. They win that. They get to go back to face Tampa, and they got smashed. Look, Tampa was just better. I don't think that's a big surprise that the 1 seed was better than the 8 seed. And at this time that I'm recording, I don't think that Tampa's played their last game. But anyway, Albany State faced Lynn, the 5th seed. So number 1, you already get a better odd to win. You already get better odds to win. But this is for the right to stay in the tournament. You lose and you're going home. The couch is in sight. So that already has your back against the ropes. But I'm going to tell you how they repeatedly rose to the occasion when their backs were against the ropes. So you look at coming out the gate roaring, 3 runs in the first 2 innings. All of those runs came when you had 2 outs, though. All of them came when you had 2 outs. Back against the wall. Back against the wall right there. They get another run in the 5th inning to bring it up to 4, but they weren't really hot for the majority of the game. You get those 3 runs in the first 2 innings, 1 in the first, 2 in the second. You go cold until you get to the 5th round or the 5th inning, excuse me. You get you another hit or another run, and it takes all the way to the 9th. It's until the 9th inning that you're able to really start putting together offense, and that's when your back are against the ropes the most. When your backs are against the ropes more than any other moment, especially because Lynn, they dropped 2 runs in the 4th inning, and then 3 more innings consecutively they had a run. So 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 3rd, 1 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th. That brought them to 6 runs total because they had 1 earlier in the game. But in general, you're looking at a team that they were up 6-4 going into the 9th inning. And if they can just get 3 outs, Lynn is going to have the opportunity to move into the next round. Albany State said, nah. We're gonna get 2 runs off on you. I think those were both with 2 outs as well. But really, I ain't gonna lie. Once you get past the 9th inning, because they got 2 runs in the 9th inning, take it to extra innings. I really feel like Lynn folded bad. Lynn folded bad because now it's tied up going into the top of the 10th. And how you hit a runner and you walk 2 more. So you end up getting bases loaded off of a hit batter and 2 walks. You ain't even have to put bat to ball in order to get the bases loaded in the 10th inning. In extra innings, that is insane. That is insane. You did get a sack hit earlier, but that person didn't get on base. I mean, the people who got on base, they got on with a walk, and a hit pitch. And being hit by a pitch, I should say. But you end up going there. And even then, you don't deliver it until you get 2 outs. You get 2 outs and you deliver 4 runs. Mind you, through 8 innings, you had 4 runs. In the 10th inning, you get 4 runs all together. This was a really resilient performance by Albany State when you look at what they were able to accomplish, when you look at the magnitude of the game. Albany State had the couch in their immediate view. The couch was in Albany State's immediate view. You're going into the 9th inning. You're down 2 runs. You haven't had a lot of success hitting today. You did have it earlier, but in general, you haven't been that hot. You rattle off 2 runs there. You get into extra innings. Rewind it. You start clamping down on a team that was getting consistent runs through the 4th inning to the 7th inning. No more after that. Nothing in the 8th, nothing in the 9th, nothing in the 10th. And you didn't have room to spare. You had to clamp them down, and you did it. So kudos to the pitching, kudos to the fielding. But when you're talking about them bats, Albany State had 4 runs through 8 innings. In the 9th and 10th innings, they had 6 runs put together. 4 in the 10th. Salute, man. Salute. That was a very resilient game. Multiple times when you have 2 outs, you start racking up. Had to put runners in scoring position. Can't talk today, excuse me. But very impressive. Very, very impressive. And I want to salute them. This is the first time winning a divisional, national tournament game at all. And they won one. So that was history. That was a historical season. And it was a great way to do it. Very dramatic. And I love the dramatics. I do. Anyway, on tomorrow's episode, speaking of dramatics, speaking of movies, we have a documentary coming out. Deion Sanders is going to have a documentary, and it's going to be a 3-part series in 2026. I think that Jackson State, in the PR for Jackson State from the Sanders family, is actually about to get really good off of this. I'm going to tell you more about it and why it's not going to be a huge part of the documentary, but I think it'll be an important part on tomorrow's episode. In the meantime, in between time, until the next time that we hear each other, family, take care, stay blessed. Peace.